Bleeding Edge is probably the riskiest skill in mhnow. Make just one mistake and you might end up paying the price with real money. The question is this skill even worth using? Because on paper, Bleeding Edge is a fantastic skill. For only 3 points, you get 50% affinity. 50% more and you'll have 100% affinity.
Hey, that's pretty good.
If you combine this with the new Nargacuga weapons that already have 40% affinity, you can easily make a consistent crit build. But there's a catch. As the name suggests, you have to be bleeding in order to activate this skill. You're constantly living on the edge because every move you make will build up damage and turn your HP red. When you attack, when you dodge, and if you get hit, the damage you take will stack, taking away any red HP you have. One mistake will be enough to take you out of the hunt. This mechanic would have been okay if we didn't have to spend money on potions. But too bad that's how mhnow is designed. So in order to make this skill usable, I need to find a way to get the most damage out of this skill and make it much safer to use. If I fail, my wallet will cry. So to squeeze in the most damage from Bleeding Edge level 3 we get from the Ebony Helm and Vambraces, we need Crit Boost and Resuscitate. Crit Boost to take advantage of the high affinity we get, and Resuscitate since we're already bleeding. And let me just say that the new Narga weapons and armor we get feels like it was really designed for Bleeding Edge. Because if we take a look at the Narga weapons, they have a built-in Resuscitate level 2, which is just perfect for Bleeding Edge. Simply pair it with the Ebony Helm and the Mizutsune legs and we now have Resuscitate level 5.
That's amazing.
Then if we take a closer look at the new Nargacuga mail, it gives us Crit Boost level 2 with Lock On. Perfect for any affinity build. So we'll be using that as well for our Bleeding Edge build. I was lucky enough to get a Crit Boost Drift Melt on my Ebony Waist, so with these two together, I now have Crit Boost level 5. When fully upgraded, this build should have 90% affinity, 40% from the Nargacuga weapons, and 50% from Bleeding Edge. But only 90%?
Not good enough!
Now in order to achieve 100% affinity without any drift smelts, we will have to use the Nargacuga horn. It has the affinity up melody which gives us the final 10% affinity we need in order to reach 100% crit rate. And as an added bonus, this hunting horn has some melodies that can help us make this build a bit safer to use. Its Evade Extender melody can help us position ourselves much safer. Special Replenishment Large can also keep us safe when using Bleeding Edge. The faster we can pop our special moves, the faster we can become invulnerable to monster attacks. Plus, the lengthy animation of the Hunting Horn Super keeps us safer for much longer. But still, the best way to avoid getting hit while using Bleeding Edge is to use your main weapon. The weapon you're most comfortable using. But now our main problem is that without the Nargacuga Hunting Horn's affinity up melody, we won't be able to achieve 100% affinity easily. At this point, we have to rely on Drift Smelts. Luckily, we just need 1 point of Crit Eye. This will give us the last 10% affinity we need. Speaking of Drift Smelts, another drift skill you might want to consider with this build is Coalescence. Bleeding Edge won't always be active during each hunt. The bleeding status will fade over time and along with it, the 50% affinity. So Coalescence will give us a damage buff when we recover from Bleeding Edge, which is nice to have while we have lesser affinity. Overall, I think the build is great. Crit Boost 5 and Resuscitate 5 just combos really well with Bleeding Edge. But sadly, the core mechanics of Bleeding Edge really has a lot of risk involved by nature. So try out this build at your own risk. For me personally, I just made this build because I like to try out different builds and it keeps the game fresh. For more unique build ideas, check out this video next where I try out the new paralysis exploit skill. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one.